Hi, I'm Sandra Markle, and I'm going to read you my Charlesbridge book, Finding Home. Here we go. It's September. Spring in New South Wales, Australia has just begun. But there's a hot breeze threading through the leaves. It wakes the female koala, curled up in the tree. She lifts her big black nose and sniffs. The air smells of eucalyptus leaves and smoke. Her Joey, a 9-month-old female sleeping beside her, wakes and tries to climb into her pouch. But the Joey has grown too big for this safe place. Instead, she climbs onto her mother's back. Kangaroos and wallabies thunder past their tree. Possums scurry after them. Overhead, a colorful cloud of parrots flaps away from the forest, and a sugar glider sails by, riding the smoky air. The female koala flees too, but she can't run fast for long, or fly, or glide away. So, built to climb, she bounds up, 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 as high as she can go in the tree. Her Joey hangs on tight to ride along. Fire sweeps through the forest, crackling, snapping, roaring. Waves of flames roll over brush, crawl up tree trunks, and leap through the air, eating every leaf they touch. Higher still, as high as the huddled koala swirls the mud-black smoke, and through this thick cloud swarms of sparks fly, land, and sting. The female koala is lucky. This bushfire is not as fierce as some, and she's in a tree a little ways beyond the fire break, an area kept clear of brush. So before the bushfire reaches her, it runs out of fuel and stops. The female koala escapes with a burned patch on her back from a flaming clump of leaves. Her Joey, squeezed between her and the tree trunk, is unharmed. But only shadow black skeletons remain where koalas once dined on a daily buffet of different kinds of eucalyptus trees, such as swamp magnolias and forest red gums. Beyond the forest, the land is unburned, but there are few trees there. That night, the female koala climbs down with her Joey on her back. As she waddles across the moonlit grass, the shadows bumping after her seem to chase her away from the burned ruins of her home range. A little farther on, the female koala lifts her big black nose and sniffs the air. She needs to eat leaves, but not just any kind will do. So when her keen sense of smell doesn't detect any promising scents, she waddles on. Hour after hour, the female koala searches for a meal. Sometimes, when the burden of carrying her big Joey is too much, she shakes her shoulders. The Joey slips off and tags along until the female koala stops to sniff the air again. Then the Joey quickly climbs back on to hitch a ride. Finally, the female detects the scent of food. She follows her nose along a dry stream bed, across the field, under a fence, and between tall houses. At last, she sees what she's been tracking, a swamp mahogany tree. The female koala hurries towards her meal, but before she can reach it, a shadow leaps to life, running on 4 legs, flashing white teeth, and barking. Woof, woof, woof. The moonlight reveals it's a dog. The female koala grunts, kicks her screaming Joey off, and bounds away in rabbit-fast hops. The dog chases after her, snarling, growling. When the dog gets close, the female koala flops onto her back, hissing, with her razor-sharp claws ready to scratch. A loud shout across the yard makes the dog stop. At a second shout, the dog gives one last grrr and trots away. The female koala rolls to her feet as a girl walks up and grabs the dog's collar. For a minute, maybe longer, the female koala and the girl stare at each other. Koalas are native to Australia, but they're rarely seen outside the bush, so both the koala and the girl are curious about each other. When the Joey climbs onto her mother's back, the girl takes the dog into the house. Then the female koala climbs up to the high, tender branches of the swamp mahogany. There she snags a twig with her claw-tipped toes and bites off just one leaf. To digest the tough leaves, she has to chew them one at a time into little bits. Her Joey climbs onto the limb to grab a leaf for herself, but she keeps a tight grip on her perch, and her big nose bumps most of the leaves out of reach. So after just a few nibbles, the Joey returns, pokes her head into her mother's pouch, and nurses. Then she curls up to nap, while the female koala chews and chews and chews. The sky is rosy and the air is already warming up by the time the female koala climbs down with her Joey on her back. In her home range, she dined on several trees each night, but having come so far to find this one swamp mahogany, she stayed to eat her fill. Nearly half a pound of leaves. Now she plods from yard to yard, searching for a bushier tree to shade her from the day's bright heat. She finds an acacia tree, and high up in its branches, the female koala sleeps with her Joey at her side, until noises wake her. Looking down through the leaves and shadows, she spies people staring up at her. She watches them between naps. Each time she wakes, jolted by fresh bursts of noise, the crowd seems bigger. That night, the female koala, with her Joey on her back, searches for another meal. It is her habit to move to a different part of her home range each night before settling down to eat. So once again, she sniffs and hunts from yard to find just one tree. That is right. But this time, as she waddles along, people trail after her. More come later while she's eating, and sometimes there are bright beams of light that make her blink and her Joey squeal. For 2 more days, the koala moves from tree to tree. In between eating and sleeping, she watches and listens to the chattering, humming, buzzing people that are always close by. By the 3rd night, the crowd is so large, the female koala stays put longer than usual. Then a warm wind flutters through the leaves. It smells of dirt, green grass, people, and eucalyptus trees. The female koala sets off, tracking the scent of the trees. The crowd tags along between houses, through a gate, along the side of a pond, and across a field to a large black road. The road is packed with parked cars and trucks and people. They are all stopped to let the koalas cross safely, but there are still loud noises and bright streaks of light. The female koala stops at the edge of the road, and her Joey squeals. Then, after a bit, one by one, the lights go out and the noises stop. Finally, the only light is moonlight. The only sound is the wind, carrying the scent of the eucalyptus trees. And the female koala, with her Joey on her back, follows her nose between the quiet walls of people and across the large black road. Then she hurries into the forest and bounds up to the high, tender branches of a forest red gum. Behind her, noises and lights shatter the night again, but the female koala pays no attention. She's already chewing a leaf and sniffing the many scents of her new home range. Nearby, her joey climbs onto a tree limb of her own, reaches out to snag a leaf, and starts to chew. Do you know what happened? They found home again.